Hi everybody. So today I'm presenting Unit 7, which is fractions, percents, and decimals. The first lesson is fractions, decimals, and percents. So a fraction is a small or tiny amount or proportion of something that is called a fraction. So it's a part out of a whole. So for example, 100 would be the whole, and 25 is the part of the whole, and that is a fraction. A decimal is the part of a whole that is represented by placing it on the right side of the period and when the whole number is on the left side. So a decimal, this is the fraction expressed as a decimal. This is the part, and then this would be the whole number, but since there's no whole number, it's just 0 point. Yeah. And a percent is a part to whole ratio that compares a number to 100. So this sign right here, as you can see, the line and 2 zeros means 100. So it basically means out of 100. So that is 25 out of 100. So a quick example would be 150 out of 100. That is the part out of the whole. To turn that into a decimal, so the whole number would be 1 because it's obviously over 100. And you put the decimal side on the right side of the whole number, and then you put the part, which is the 50. Okay, I don't know why I did that. The 50 on this side. So that is your decimal for this fraction, and it would be 150 out of 100, so that would be 150%. So an example, once again, so an example of a fraction would be 3 out of 10. This is the part out of the whole. An example of a decimal would be taking that part. Since there's no whole number, you put 0, put the decimal on the right side, and then 3, because that is the part. And an example of a percent would be 30%. And this just means out of 100. Just always remember that. It's always out of 100. So yeah. The next lesson I'm presenting is the percent proportion. So a percent proportion are two equal ratios that compare a number to 100. So down here, as a first example, I have 10 over 50 equals x to 100. So 10 over 50 is a percent proportion, and it's a ratio. And it's compared to a number over 100, and x is represented as the number. So to solve that, you would cross multiply. So 10 times 100 is 1000. So that would be 1000 equals 50x. So you would then divide by 50 on each side. And 1000 divided by 50 is equal to 20. So x equals 20. And that is your answer. So 100 over 50 is equal to 20 over 100. So these are two equal ratios, as you can see the equal sign, that compare a number to 100. So the next example, I'll do another one, is 3 over 10 equals x over 100. So you would do cross multiply 3 times 100, which is 300, equals 10 times x would be 10x. So you do divided by 10 divided by 10. 300 divided by 10, I believe it's 30, but it's always okay to double check your answer. And I was right. Okay, so x equals 30. So 3 over 10 is also equal to 30 over 100. And this is basically just the simplified version of what it is over 100. And for another example, example 3, I'll just make one up, which would be, let's say, 20 over 40 equals x over 100. So cross multiply and do 20 times 100, which is 2000, equals 40x. So we divide both sides by 40. 2000 divided by 40. Oh my god, that's embarrassing. Okay, 2000. Oh my god, no. Okay, 2000 divided by 40 is 50. So x equals 50. So 20 over 40 is obviously 1/2. So it'd be 50 over 100. And this can be simplified to 1/2 because they're both half. Yeah. So that is the percent of proportion. Okay, so the next lesson I'm going to be teaching is the percent of change. So the concept of the percent of change is used to describe the relationship between an old value or quantity and a new value or quantity. Specifically, the percent of change expresses the difference of the old and new values as a percentage of the old value. So this is your problem. You had 5 books, but now you have 7. Easy problem, right? So the step, I've already done one example written out for you. So step 1 is you calculate the change. So 5 minus 7 is obviously 2. So the change is equal to 2 because difference from 5 to 5, the difference from 5 minus 7 is 2. So that's the change. Step 2 is you divide the original value. So the original value, you divide the change by the original value. So the change is 2, and the original value was 5 books. So you would express that as a fraction, so it would be 2 over 5. You will then have to make it into a decimal number, as we have learned in the first lesson. So hopefully you'll know how to do that because I am a great teacher. So 2/5 would be 0.40, and you can also make a bar if you want. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's 5, and then 2 of them is 2/5. So that would leave 0.40. Okay, that was pretty useless. I'm sorry. Okay, anyways, moving on. So step 3 is convert that into a percentage by multiplying your decimal and adding a percentage sign to make it a percent, which is the percent change. So 0.40%, you make that into a 0.40, you make that into a percent, which, remember, this is the part out of 100, so that would be 40% as we have here. And this is your final answer. This is the percent of change. So yeah. And also a side note, if the value is greater than the old value, it is a percentage increase. Otherwise, it's a decrease. So in this case, it was an increase. So for our first example, a pair of socks went from $6 to $12. So the first step is, remember, we have to find the change. So 6 minus 12. So 6 minus 12. Excuse me. Sorry. You know what? Okay, never mind that. I don't know what I'm doing. I zoned out. Okay. The change would be from 6 to 12 is 6. So that is your percent change. Well, it's not really a percent yet because we're onto that. So the next step is divide the change by the original value and you'll get a decimal number. So 6 over 6, which is equal to 1, and that is equal, that is equal to 1, basically. 1 point is your decimal. Now the third one is convert that into a percentage by multiplying by 100 and adding a sign. So 1 times 100 is obviously 100, so that would be 100%. So the percentage change would be 100%. And a second example would be, there are 80 Smarties in a box, but now there are 40. What is the percentage change? So 80, it's a messed up zero. 80 minus 40 equals 40. So that is your change for now. So step 2 is divide by the original value. So 40 over 80, and you get a decimal number. So 40 over 80 is equal to 1/2 if you simplify, which is equal to 0.50. That's your decimal number as a change. And your last step is to convert the decimal number into 100. So 0.50 times 100. We'll do that now if you need a calculator. 0.50 times 100 is equal to 50, which is, we add a percent sign because it's out of 100. Remember the slash and the 0, so that would be 50%. So your percent change is 50%. And the last example I have for this is, LaFronte wants to increase his grade by 25%. His current grade is 80. What will his final grade be? So we have 80 is his final grade and 25. So in this case, you already have the percentage change, which is 25. So what we have to do, what we would do is find the change. So in this case would be 3.2, because 80 divided by 3.2 is 25. So it's 25. So we put that in step 2, the decimal. We times that by 100, which is equal to 25 again. We make that into a percent, which is 25%. So that is how we got the percentage. So since 80 is the original price, you want to times 80 times 1.25 to equal 100. So that would be his final grade. His final grade would be 100%, I guess, if we're talking about percentages, and this was 80%, or 100. And yeah, so that is the percent of change. The next lesson I'm going to be presenting is circle graphs. So using a circle graph to display categories of information about the relationship of parts to whole, which are also expressed as like a fraction. Remember, we talked about parts to whole. So in this unit, we will discuss how to go about constructing a circle graph when we are given a data table. So I have an example of a data table right below. So that would be shoes sold in a day. That would be an example of a data table you might see. So first I'm going to start off with an easier example. So example 1, number of siblings algebra students have. So the number of siblings, you either have 0, 1, 2, or 3 siblings in this data table, and number of students with siblings. So 2 students have 0 siblings, 5 students have 1 sibling, 10 students have 2 students. You get it. So first we're gonna make all of this. The first step is to make all of these numbers here into a fraction. But first, to do that, we have to add up the total. So 5 plus 2 plus 10 plus sorry, this is a mistake. This should be 3. So the total of this all would be 20. So since you have the total, and that would be the whole, and this would be the part, you would make this the fraction. So this would be 2 out of 20. This would be 5 out of 20. This would be 10 out of 20, also 1/2. This would be 3 out of 20. Now you would convert this into a percent, which is times 100, which is, remember we did the percent of up here. We did the percent proportion. That's exactly what you have to do for circle graphs right now. So I'll do the first category as an example. You would do 2 over 20 times x over, equals x over 100. So then you'd cross multiply, and that would give you 200 equals 20x, and then you divide by 20, and that would give you x equals 10. So that would be 10% for the first one. And then you continue on. So I've already worked these out. So this would be 25%. This would be 50%. And this would be 15%. Also, another way to do it is find the decimal. So let's do the easy one. So for 50%, so you do 0.50, then times 100 would be 50, and then you just add the percent sign. So you can also do it that way. So now we have to find the degrees, which goes into your circle graph. So what you need to do here, I'll erase this at the top, is convert your percent into a decimal again. So I'll do the first example. So you'd make that 0.10, and then to get the degrees you have to times it by 360, which is a full circle. So 360 degrees makes a full circle. So you times that by 360, and that gives you 36%, because I've already worked this out. So if you do that, so 0.10 times 360 is 36, and then you just add the degree sign. So the first one would be 36%. I'll do one more. 25, that would be 0.25 times 360 would give us 90, so that would be 90 degrees. So the next is 180, because half a circle, which is 180, and the next one would be 54 degrees. And all of these should add up to 360. Yeah, so that's how you do the first one. I have another example. So this is the number of shoes ASD students have. So first we're gonna convert it all into we have to convert it all into a fraction, but we have to find the total of these numbers first. So 4 plus 6 plus, I think it's 22, 7 plus 5 equals 22. I was right. So the total is 22. So everything will be out of 22. So 4 out of 22, 6 out of 22, 7 out of 22, and 5 out of 22. So now we have to convert that into a percent. So 4 over 22 equals x over 100. So we cross multiply. It is 400 equals 22x, and divide by 22 on each side to get the value of x, which is 400 divided by 22, which is 18.18. So 18.18%. This is also a harder one, so be careful. So yeah, that's how you work it out, as we did in the first problem. So next would be 88%. Next is the next one would be 32%. And also you can just round the numbers, so it can just be 18%. And then the last number would be, so then it would be 22.7, so we'll round that to 23. So then, erase all this up here. You convert it into a degrees, which is times everything by 360. You put it into a decimal first, so 0.18 times 360 would be 64.8 degrees. And yeah, you understand that because the total should then add up to 360. And then, yeah. So I have the last one where you can create your own. So I'm gonna give you time to do that. So yeah. Pause here. Okay, so continuing on, once you've created your own, estimating a circle graph. So I'm gonna go back to the first example that we showed you, which was this example 1. So to actually make the circle graph, you can either estimate, which is, okay, you draw the circle. So, well, the first one, was 10%. So you can, okay, we'll start with the biggest fraction first. So the biggest one was 50. So this is 50%, which is 10 students. Okay, the next one would be 25%, which is 1/4. So 25%. And then one would be 15% and 10%. So that would probably split like not equally. As you can see, this side's a bit bigger, so it'd be 15% and this would be 10%. So that is a way of estimating your circle graph. And the second way would be actually figuring out the degrees out of 360. So let me just erase this. You would draw your circle again. Sorry, that's a really bad circle. But so here, about here would be 0, and here would be 180 degrees. Oops, that's 10. 180 degrees, because that's half a circle. So, yeah. So, you found out all the degree numbers. So you just do that. So one of them is 180 degrees, which is half. So, whoops. 180 degrees would be from there. Then one sibling, so that's 25%, which is 270 degrees, which is one sibling. And then you do 10%, which is 3 siblings. Oops, sorry, 15%, which is 3 siblings, and that is 270. Yeah, sorry, I made a mistake. Over here it's 270. And then the 10% would be, oh, by the way, over here is 90 degrees because it's a straight line. Just, yeah, I forgot that. So then this sliver over here is the 10%, would be, so wait, for 15 the 270 can be here. And then for the 10% one, it is, oops, about 36 degrees. And yes, that is circle graphs, lesson 5. The next lesson I'm going to be doing is lesson 6, which is simple interest. Interest is how much is paid for the use of money as a percent or as an amount. So the formula for simple interest is I equals PRT. The I stands for interest, the P stands for amount borrowed or principal, R stands for interest rate, and T stands for time. So for the first example, Jan borrowed $3,000 for 4 years at 5% interest rate. How much interest is that? First, we need to find 5% of 3,000. So by doing that, you, which is 3,000. So 5% of that equal to $150. So if it's at a rate of 4 years, we add 150 to 3,000 4 times because it's every year. So plus 150 plus 150 plus 150 plus 150, and that gives you $3,600, and that is your final answer. So the next example is you get a student loan from the Mexican Educational Assistance to pay for your expenses this year. Find the interest on the loan that you borrowed for $2,000 at 8% for 1 year. So first we have to find 8% of 2,000, which is 160. So you add 160 to 2,000 to find out what your price will be after 1 year. So that would be $2,160. The last example is you are starting a small business in Albuquerque. You borrow $10,000 from the bank at a 9% rate for 5 years. Find the interest rate you'll pay on this loan. So you have to find 9% of 10,000, which is 900. So you add 900 to 10,000 5 times. So plus 900 to the 5th. So do that, and it's plus 901 plus 902 plus 903 plus 904 plus 905. That gives you $14,500 after 5 years. Yeah, so that is compound, simple interest, not compound interest. The final lesson I'm going to do is compound interest. So with compound interest, you work out the interest for the first period. So it's basically simple interest, but then you add the total, and then calculate the interest for the next period. The first example is you take out a loan of $800 and the bank charges you 15% compound interest per year. If you don't pay off the loan in 4 years, how much do you owe the bank? So first we're going to start with, since we're doing compound interest, the interest earned each year gets added to the original price. So we first have to do 800 times 1.25, sorry, I meant 1.15, and then that would equal 920, I believe. 800 times 1.15. Yeah. And this is this is how much you would owe the bank after 1 year. So that'd be $920. Then the next step is to work out how much is owed after 4 years. Then you'd have to multiply that amount by 1.15 3 more times, because it is a loan if you don't pay off in 4 years. So you would do 800 times 1.15 to the fourth, which is 1399.21 dollars. So that would be how much you owe the bank after 4 years. Okay, and whoops. Example 2 is you invest $4,000 in a fund which earns an 11% compound return per year. How much would the fund be worth after 10 years? So we do the same thing again, which is, so to increase the amount on the calculator, 11% becomes 1.11. So after that, we do 4,000 times 1.11 to the 10th, which is equal to 11,357.68. That's $11,000. And that is how much the fund would be worth after 10 years. And our last problem is Mickey Momo wants to invest $30,000 into an account that offers a compound interest rate of 6%. How much money will be in the account after the end of 4 years? So what you have to do first is get $30,000 times 1 plus 0.06, because that is the interest rate, and then you do that to the fourth, because it's at the end of 4 years. So if you work that out, 1 plus 0.6 is 1.06 to the fourth times 30,000. So 30,000 again. So 1.06 to the fourth would be 4.24, and then you multiply 30,000, which is 127,200. So that'd be $127,200, and that is how much money will be in the account at the end of 4 years. And that is the end of compound interest. Yeah.